Lionel Loveless is a community-driven individual with a fashion-forward outlook. Some know him as Mr. Bowtie Daily, owner of Officially Knotted Bow Ties, which is a sustainable fashion brand that turns upcycled materials into custom bow ties. Lionel is also the owner of 2 antique businesses in Stratham and Hampton Falls, and serves as board member for Business Alliance for People of Color New Hampshire, as well as Black Lives Matter New Hampshire. When he's not sewing, selling antiques, or serving as a board member, you can find him giving tours for the Black Heritage Trail of New Hampshire. Friends, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome to the stage Lionel Loveless.
Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing this morning? I'm a little nervous, but it'll be okay. This room, the energy in this room, it's very welcoming. So I just want to take a second and kind of set expectations for myself. So I'm just going to look around the room and just kind of look at everyone, try to take some of the pressure off my shoulders because I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. Tear the script, redo it, you know. You can't do 20 minutes. So all that. So I just kind of want to just look and acknowledge all of you for being here. And thank you for giving me the grace to just stand here and just kind of tell my story. So when Natalie and Scooch came to me and said, hey, you should do Creative Mornings, and they told me the theme was patterns, I was like, oh yeah, I can do that, you know. I sew. You know, I take all kind of different patterns. I mean, look at my pants, right? So I love patterns. But then I was like, you know what? I'm looking at this in a too simplistic type of way. Nobody wants me to talk about my bow ties and the patterns and things like that. I think I started to realize that I wanted to talk about how this could be a healing moment for myself and talk about the patterns that have made me who I am. So that's where the title of this comes from, The Patterns Used to Sew My Story. So first off, once again, good morning, happy Friday, and happy Pride, Portsmouth. So I have the script. But you all know, most of you know me, that I have a hard time following the script. My heart doesn't allow me to follow that script, you know. So I'm gonna do my best to stick to it, but just go with me. It's all my heart. This is just me. So a little bit about me. I grew up in small town America, Jones, Oklahoma. 2 loving parents who were high school sweethearts, 3 siblings. They kind of set me on a path to be who I am at an early age. My mom was one of those people who she loved everyone, tried to make everyone happy, regardless if she knew you or not. Well, that's a pattern that she passed on to me. It's not necessarily a good pattern, not necessarily a bad pattern, but when you find yourself sacrificing your happiness for everybody else's, that's not a good thing. You start to lose yourself. So I openly embrace that role of trying to make everybody happy and kind of giving away my happiness. But it also, it puts me in a place that sometimes I don't get to express my sadness because I'm so worried about everyone else's. I'm one of those beings that have to be in the light to survive. I can't live in darkness. So when I see somebody that's sad or having a bad day, I have to immediately go to them and dance with them, make them laugh, make them smile, because it hurts me physically to see somebody in pain. And part of that is just also my husband. My husband is the same way. We kind of have this, the energy, we came together because of our energies kind of matched in that way. So sometimes I find myself in these situations where I'm the Olivia Pope of emotional fixing. I don't know if you guys know who Olivia Pope is, but Scandal, one of the best shows ever made. So I find myself in these situations where I'm trying to constantly help fix someone when I need the fixing myself, but I ignore it. I ignore it to the point that sometimes I'm just like, it's going to be okay. And then eventually it comes back to jump on my back, and I'm just like, why am I so tired? Why am I hurting? Why can I not create these bow ties that I need to create? It's because I'm carrying everything else with me. Now that I've identified that pattern, I know how best yet to fix it. Not saying that I'm not going to come and dance with you guys and laugh with you and try to make you happy, but I need you guys, I need to fix that right quick. I need you all, Leadership Seacoast Training. I need you all to understand that, yes, I can help you laugh and dance and get to your happiness, but I also need it to be reciprocated. I need you all to say the same thing to me. If you see me down, if you see me walking around without a bow tie, hey, what's happening? Are you okay? It's all right, because we have to be able to talk about these things. We have to be able to do that. So my whole thing is about turning dark clouds into sunshine. So if I can do that, I feel like I've done my job. That allows me to live a better life, to live a happier life. So that pattern of sacrificing my happiness for others is still there. I own it. I can't get rid of it because it's who I am. It's something my mother gave me. But I ask that you all kind of step up a little bit and say, you know what, we can do this together. You don't have to do it by yourself. Because it is a hard world. And you talking about community is huge. This is a whole new section of community that I have here in New Hampshire, and I'm so appreciative of that. So thank you. So the next, that was kind of heavy. That's a big burden that I carry. So I kind of want to switch to something else. Told you guys I'm not good at scripts because I have to come from the heart. So just to end on a good note with that is that I embrace that last pattern with caution, just so I don't lose who I am. And I ask that you do the same. All right, so I'm up here sweating. It's tough being vulnerable, right? And this is me being vulnerable. I've done a lot of speaking in the last 2.5 weeks. But I was on panels with other people, so I had other people that I can reach over and touch. Up here, I'm kind of like by myself. So I just need to shake off a little bit of what we just had, so you guys can shake it off with me just a little bit. Because, this is hard, but I'm making it happen. I'm not going to run off the stage because I really kind of want to run off the stage. I'm not going to do it. So another pattern that my mother gifted me was the pattern of creativity. The thinking outside of the box. Think about it. Creativity is not a pattern. Well, it kind of is. I wouldn't be Mr. Bowtie Daily without the pattern of creativity, right? I'm taking old materials, turning them into one-of-a-kind bow ties or whatever. So my mom, when I was in 2nd grade, I came running home to my mom and I was like, hey, Mom. I didn't say mom, let's be real. I said mama. Mama, I want to be a Ghostbuster for Halloween. Well, my mom, whatever you want to say, we didn't have a lot of money, and she knew we didn't have the money to go get a Ghostbuster costume. So what did she do? She got creative. She took a Christmas tree pole, a rubber ball, a shoebox, and some foil, and turned her baby into the best Ghostbuster there ever was. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was not afraid of any ghost. And just the fact that she was like, I'm gonna make my baby something, knowing that we didn't have the money for her to go out and buy that costume. That creative pattern of doing that. Now, that wasn't the only time she used her mama magic. She used it all the time. There was times where, all right, what are we going to have for dinner? She went in the kitchen, made it happen. And I appreciate that now. That resonates with me. So when I get these crazy bow tie orders, because I get crazy bow tie orders, and I'm like, how am I going to do this? I tap into that mama magic to where I can make it happen. And it's comforting to me. It lets me know that, yeah, she raised me in a way that I can kind of pass a little bit out. So every time I create a bow tie, some of that mama magic goes with the bow tie. So, I say so a lot, don't I? But I do sew a lot, don't I? All right, so now we're going to get to another heavy pattern, a pattern that we all kind of struggle with. That pattern of self-doubt, of not thinking you're deserving. I kind of still struggle with that pattern, but not as much. Standing here right now, you can kind of hear the nervousness in my voice because I'm like, am I deserving to be here? Should my picture be up there? And that little voice in my head is saying, run. I'm not going to run. I'm going to embrace it the best I can. So when I talk about this pattern, I like to put a name to it because it allows me to kind of see it and feel it. Are there any, so we're going to name this pattern of undeserving and thinking you're unworthy, we're going to name it Paul. Are there any Pauls in the audience? Well, let's just say I'm not talking about you, but I kind of have to put a name to it. So Paul was telling me I shouldn't be on stage. I let Paul talk me out of a lot of job opportunities and happiness. Well, sometime last year, Paul and I had a conversation. And Paul was not letting up whatsoever. So I looked at Paul and said, you no longer have ownership of me. I start fighting back. I'm as deserving as the next person. If I'd had listened to Paul, I wouldn't have played Jack Staines at the New Hampshire Theater Project for the Only Judge story. If I had listened to Jack Staines, I wouldn't have hosted the BLM Excellence Awards or the BAPOC New Hampshire Conference. If I had let Paul talk me out of these things, like Leadership Seacoast Class of 2024, which I can say the best, I won't because you all know, Lori. And also, I wouldn't be standing on this stage today if I let Paul talk me out of it. So Paul has this thing about stepping into my life in these times where I'm like, get away from me. Get away from me. This is my moment. But Paul is like, no, this is my moment. You need to run. You need to run as fast as you can because you're not deserving. Well, Paul, I'm ripping you into pieces because I deserve to be here. One thing that Paul, it's funny that I'm calling him Paul. I'm trying to think, is there a Paul in my life that kind of pissed me off? And there really was a Paul that pissed me off. So, former co-worker who did some nasty stuff. As a matter of fact, for Pride Month, we can just say, this Paul tried to out me. So, Paul, thank you. Can't believe I just said that. He probably won't see this, but if he does, you know who you are. So I'm ripping up that pattern of being undeserving because you know what? Standing here, I feel like I can have an impact. I can do all the things that my mom said I can do, all the things that my friends and family said I can do. I can finally feel like I'm amazing by ripping up Paul. Now, I didn't rip up Paul or I didn't confront Paul all by myself. It took encouragement from my husband, my siblings, my best friend, my New Hampshire crew. They all were telling me, you are an amazing person. You should do this, you should do that. But I never felt like I could. Something clicked. It finally started happening. I was like, yeah, this is my community. They have my back. I'm no longer going to sit here and let Paul dictate how I live my life and my happiness. So I now consider myself kind of like my bow ties and the bow tie pattern, imperfectly perfect. I have flaws. I never get it right all the time. But you know what? I look good. So, with that being said, I don't know how much time I went because, I was stressing about the time. I just want to say thank you all for giving me this moment in my life to stand up here and talk about my family, my friends, my bow ties, the Paul, and all that good stuff. Natalie, DJ Scooch, you guys are amazing. This community is kind of, when we first moved here, I didn't think this existed. But 8 years later, I'm like, oh, this is a cool place. I kind of like New Hampshire. We have a few more black people here too. Diversity is happening. Don't let anybody tell you that.